What's going on, traders? We got a few things to talk about, but before we start, like, subscribe, comment your thoughts below. Let's get into the video. So, I hope everyone enjoyed their weekend because this week ahead of us is absolutely insane. What do I mean by that? Well, we have a lot of earnings this week. We got AMD, we got Microsoft, we got PayPal, we got Intel, we got Amazon, we got Meta, plain and simple, we got a lot going on this week. So it's going to be a very volatile week. Not only that, but as far as news, starting Tuesday, we got tons of news coming in. We got job openings. Then Wednesday I think is going to be like our biggest day of the week as far as news is concerned. We got unemployment cost, we got pending home sales, we got FOMC statement, FOMC press conference. So there is a lot going on this week, and I encourage you to proceed with caution. Why do I say that? Well, when the bull run was happening across the market, it was pretty much there were pretty much no bears involved in it. Okay, bears were just really non-existent, and any attempt they made in dropping the market, bulls stepped in almost immediately and pretty much pushed them out. But as far as what we've seen last week, bears are back in the market, guys. Okay, bears are back in the market. So what does that mean? That means that the market is very fragile. I will say that much. I think the market is in a very fragile position, and that any, and I mean almost any bad news can cause a drop. All right. So I think bulls are in the market, but I think bears are back in the market just as much. Okay. Back then, we didn't really see bears. They were pretty much non existent. The market just continued to go up and just rally. And any dip we saw was almost immediately bought and most likely a bear trap. In this scenario, I do think that bears are back and that any bad news, can't stress this enough, any bad news can cause a drop. Okay. So be careful this week, is what I'm getting at here. So let's go over what we are looking at heading into at least tomorrow. So tomorrow we don't have really any news. So I don't expect much. If anything, maybe we consolidate or we mirror Friday. You guys know, I say it all the time. Mondays, majority of the time, mirror Fridays. What does that mean if you're new to the channel? That means usually when Fridays are bearish, Mondays are bearish. When Fridays are bullish, Mondays are bullish. Okay, this isn't 100% of the time, but more likely than not, at least for the past year, I would say at least a good 98% of the time, we have seen this happen. Now, last week, we didn't see that happen. Monday pretty much did the opposite of Friday, but based on historical data, it's safe to assume that based on what we saw this past Friday, that Monday can end up more bullish than bearish. Doesn't mean I expect a rally or anything. It just means that we can simply consolidate to the upside. And if we do rally, then that's great as well. So in my last video, I told you guys that I was expecting a reversal. I was expecting a bounce from here, and we got exactly that. So congratulations if you listened. Granted, I don't think the move was that great to the upside, but regardless, we still bounced. We bounced off our channels. I've shown you guys these channels multiple times, and right now we're looking at the ES daily time frame. And right now, as far as the ES and SPY goes, we are in a very weird position here. So keep in mind, we're still in this channel, right? We rejected here, we rejected here, we rejected here. We called a top up here. We bounced down here, we bounced here, we bounced here. And based off historical data, and based off what we've seen as far as how the market or the ES responds to this channel, it's safe to assume that we would expect a bounce off the bottom of this channel, and that's exactly what we got. But the other issue here is, and hopefully you guys can see it, is that we are below this daily supply and demand zone. Okay. I tell you guys about turbulence all the time, and right now there is a lot of turbulence here. I think if anything was going to cause us to either break to the upside or break below this channel, it would be this week. Given with all the news, all the major earnings we have this week, if anything was going to cause us to break higher or lower, it would definitely be this upcoming week. Okay. So I want you guys to keep that in mind. Again, we're below this daily supply and demand zone, so we're between a rock and a hard place right now as far as the ES goes, and we got a lot of turbulence in this area. So if we can break above, I would say 5,560 on the ES, then there is definitely hope for more upside and definitely hope for more previous highs or newer highs, new highs. Okay, so something to keep in mind here. So that is the level that I'm looking at as far as upside, 5,560. After that, I think we'll just simply head to 5,600, and then we'll have to see what happens from there. As far as breaking below this channel, I've told you guys this before. 5430 is what I'm looking at. If we break below 5430, You could say 55.50, but to be safe, I mean, not 55.50, 54.50. But to be safe, I would like to see a break below 54.30 before I go full blown super bearish. Okay. So, point being, I'm kind of on the edge right now. If we look at the SPY, it's pretty much the same thing we're looking at as far as the ES. Again, we got our channel here, and right now we are pretty much stuck below 544 on the SPY. Well, 545 psych level, okay, give or take. And I told you guys, if we can get above 545, we can get up to 548, and then after that, 550. Now, if we can break back above 550 on the SPY, 550, 551, give or take, I think we have potential to start seeing new highs. Okay. Potential, keyword. Okay. It doesn't mean it's going to happen. It just means we have potential to see that. Again, just like we saw in the ES, we're below this daily supply and demand zone. I mean, it's pretty much a mirror image, guys, right? They're essentially the same. And you see it here. Again, turbulence. Just a bunch of turbulence, a bunch of consolidation here. So we need news to break above this, or we either break down out of this channel. All right. So as far as breaking below this channel, 537. We get below 537, things can get really ugly really fast. All right. After 537, you're looking at your psych level of 535, and then you can look at a move towards 532, 531 range. All right. As far as upside goes, 550. But I told you guys, in order for me to be like really bullish, me to expect us to get like new highs, I would like to see SPY get above 556. Okay, 556. It attempted to last week, but it just could not make that happen. We look at the 4 hour time frame, and you guys get a better view on just how things are looking. As you guys can see, we are consolidating below this daily supply and demand zone. All right, and we have bearish wicks. So again, we're not in the clear yet. Okay, we did bounce, like I said, we did reverse, like I said, but we're not exactly there yet. Okay, so I don't want anyone jumping the gun and just start going crazy with buys and buying shares and trades because I said the bottom is in. Okay, I said short term the bottom is in. Okay, short term is all about perspective here. All right. So I want you guys to keep that in mind. So again, as far as downside, you're looking at 537. As far as upside goes, I really would like to see us get back above 550, 551 range on the SPY. That's what I'm looking at. Until then, I would say just play it very cautious. As you guys can see, much better look here. Just a lot of consolidation here. This is the area we're pretty much stuck under right now. And again, I think if any week was going to cause us to break higher or break out of this area in general, it would definitely be this week, given with all the earnings we have and all the news we have coming in. All right. Now, let's look at the NASDAQ. So the NASDAQ actually looks better. Okay. It does look better than the SPY. It looks like it's set up to have a bigger upside. All right. So that could potentially boost the SPY to get out of that range that we were just talking about, right below that daily supply and demand zone. So the NASDAQ and the triple Qs actually do look better here. And we do have somewhat of a bounce off the bottom of this channel. But the question is, how high can we go? So you guys see this other trend here. I think if anything, if the market was to bounce, if big tech or whatever the case may be does have great earnings, that the Nasdaq can head back towards that 19,900, 20,000 range. All right. So let's actually mark it out so you guys can get a better idea on what I'm talking about here. So we already got our bounce off the bottom of this channel. It's not much of a convincing bounce in my opinion. If anything, we may see a little bit more consolidation at least for tomorrow. But if anything, we could bounce head towards 20,000. We can actually head higher, 20,100, 20,200 before we possibly see a break back down. Now, it is important to note that we do have a fair value gap in this area right here between 19,900 and 20,000. So I do think that's motivation for the Nasdaq to potentially head higher and start rallying back to this area. Okay, so something to keep in mind here. All right, that's pretty much what I'm looking at as far as the Nasdaq. Now, as far as downside goes, if we get below 18,900, then I think we're just going to simply, well, that would be very bad. First off, but then we'll be heading towards 18,750, 18,700 range. And after that, I'm looking at a move towards 18,500 if we just so happen to break out this channel. But based off what we're seeing off historical data, we've held this channel pretty well. So it's only safe to assume for now that we are going to continue to hold this channel until proven otherwise. If we look at the triple Qs, Triple Q, same thing. Triple Q's looks better. Okay, it looks better than the SPY and the ES in Q as well, right? And again, we're trading in this channel. You guys see, I told you guys in the last video that I think the bottom is in short term and that we are bouncing off the bottom of this channel. Not only are we bouncing off the bottom of this channel, but we're bouncing off this daily supply and demand zone. So again, big tech looks better. It looks a lot better for a setup to the upside. And as you guys can see here, we get a closer look. Let's actually look at the 4 hour time frame here. As you guys can see, it's not yet convincing, but we are consolidating above this daily supply and demand zone. So you guys know I'm not making it up. You guys can look back here and see that we are bouncing over and over. We bounced over and over, consolidated on top of, and then eventually we broke to the upside. Okay, so we can be looking at the same scenario once again. Even here, we pretty much traded within this supply and demand zone. This is when it was created. And then we eventually broke down, and then we broke back up. All right, so you guys see, I'm not making it up. So we could be looking at a repeat of what we've seen here, where we consolidate and then eventually we broke higher. Probably some news came in that day, whatever the case may be. So we could be looking at the same exact scenario here, where we consolidate for a while. Maybe we get some good earnings, Microsoft, Meta, whatever earnings decides to kick things off, or whatever news decides to kick things off, and then we potentially start to break higher. Same thing I said with the NQ. We do have a gap here at around 480. I think at some point this gap is going to get filled pretty soon. I think if any gap to the upside, let's make this simple. I think if any gap to the upside is going to be filled, it's going to be during earnings season. Okay. I'm going to make that clear. I'm going to make that bold statement now. So I'm pretty much guaranteeing that these gaps are going to get filled. If there was a time for these gaps to get filled, it would be during earnings season. I don't see them not getting filled during earnings season. Okay. If anything, this gap towards 494 is pushing it. Okay, I will say that much. It is pushing it. All right. So if anything, I wouldn't focus too much up here. I will focus more so at the 480 range for the triple Qs. That's what I'm looking at as far as the triple Qs. Now, as far as your key levels go, 457 is your key level here. I told you guys. I think 457 between 457 460 is a great buying opportunity for the triple Q. So congratulations if you follow through on that. And as soon as the triple Qs hit 457 456 range, it bounced up about a good $10. It went all the way to like 468 or something like that. So congratulations if you were able to profit off that, or you made any type of money off any type of stock that bounced off that. Okay, so something to pay attention to as far as the triple Qs. But again, I still stand by what I say. I still think the bottom is somewhat in short term. I don't think we're going to just break further down during big tech earnings. I don't think the market is going to crash. And that's another thing I want you guys to keep in mind. When you start seeing YouTubers and even myself, even if you see me doing this, okay, when you start seeing YouTubers and everybody else saying crash, 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 like in their thumbnails and things like that, that is a time to buy. Okay, that is the time to start buying. Okay, and right now I'm seeing everyone say this. I'm seeing everyone like crash, crash, and everything like that. This is the time to buy. Okay, that is my personal opinion. Do what you want with that information. But when everybody starts yelling and screaming and getting into fear mode, that's the time to buy, people. All right. So that's what I'm looking at as far as the triple Qs. Hopefully, I made that clear. But if not, let's do a quick recap. As far as the SPY goes, plain and simple, I would love to see a move above 550. After 550, 551 range, we could see a move towards 556. And after that, I think we're just going to start heading towards previous highs, if not higher. Triple Qs. Triple Qs, pretty much the same thing I was saying for the SPY. You want to see us get above 468. After 468, remember 468 was our gap fill area as far as the downside. Let's look at the daily time frame. So yeah, right here was where we were filling up the gap towards 468. So if we can get back above 468, then we're easily going to head towards 474. And then after 474, you're looking at a move towards 478, 480 range. That's what I'm looking at as far as the triple Qs. As far as downside goes, you want to see us break below 456, 455 psych level. As far as downside goes, the spot with the SPY, you're looking at a break below 537, and then you can head as low as 531, 530 range. Okay, so those are the things to keep in mind. That's what I'm paying attention to. Let's look at the semi ETFs. So nothing much has changed here. I mean, we did bounce, like I said, we bounced off our trend lines here. So congratulations if you decide to invest into SOXL long term. I know I added some shares myself to my portfolio. So looking really good here. It is important to note we have AMD earnings, so that can influence this as well. I think personally, AMD is going to do well for their earnings. Now, whether that's priced in or not is pretty much in the air. But I do think a lot of semis are going to pretty much do, I wouldn't say crush their earnings, but are going to do well. And simply because a lot of these semi ETFs look like they are ready for a bounce. Okay, that's simply what I'm going by off of. I'm not going off fundamentals or anything. I'm just going off what I'm looking at as far as the charts. But again, SOXL looks great. Semiconductor ETF looks great. If anything, now if you're interested in investing into XOXL, I think now is the perfect time to do so. That's just my opinion. Do what you want with that information. As long as we hold above this daily supply and demand zone, this might be the weekly supply and demand zone. Don't quote me on that, but it's one or the other. Either way, it's an important supply and demand zone. Okay. But regardless, bouncing off here, we can start heading towards these gap fills, towards the $50 range. Up here again, like I said with the triple Qs, this will be pushing it 61, 62. But if you're holding it for the long term, I don't see semis going anywhere long term. So I wouldn't blame you if you held it all the way up here, even higher than that. All right. As far as SMH, same thing. I mean, same thing we saw SMH, another ETF, semiconductor ETF. Same thing. You bounced off the daily supply and demand zone, and you're bouncing off this trend. You guys know I don't make this stuff up. We bounced here in this area, and we're currently bouncing here, and we rejected. Not only did we reject here, we rejected a gap fill here. So semiconductors are looking pretty prime, and they might do really good for their earnings. Okay, I will say that much. Now, again, earnings is 100% gambling. Okay, it's 100% gambling. You can be right. I've been right plenty of times about earnings reports, and you still get IV crushed. So it doesn't necessarily is you got to be careful. Okay, I will say that, but you just got to be careful as far as earnings. So despite what I'm saying here, sure. AMD may, crush their earnings, but if it's priced in or majority of it is priced in already, it doesn't mean the implied move is going to happen, and you could get IV crushed. So only time I really play earnings if I'm playing with profit and I made a decent amount of profit for that week. Then I'll throw some change at earnings. And so far, I'm like 4-0 with earnings. So I want to keep that going, and we'll see. If you want access to those plays, Discord link is in the description below. But as far as everything else, guys, I know I said I was going to make a stocks video. There's just nothing out there right now. I'm going to be honest. I looked and I still don't trust anything. Everything is in a weird spot right now. Everything's in a between a rock and a hard place right now. I mean, we can look at Meta. Um, yeah, everything's like below trends, below supply and demand zones and things like that. So there's not really there's buying opportunities, sure, but are they cheap enough for me? In my opinion, no. All right. Are there levels that I'm looking at as far as breaking? Yes, but right now everything. I mean, look at Meta for example. We broke below this trend right here. I just don't see the buying opportunity with Meta. As long as we stay below this trend, I just don't see it. Okay. So things like that. I mean, Tesla still looks bad. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. It still looks terrible. It looks like it wants to drop even more, in my opinion. I could be wrong here, but like I told you guys, if Tesla sees 30 before it sees 207, 206, I might be looking into puts, but that all depends on how the market looks. All right. But Tesla just is just in the middle of nowhere right now. It doesn't look good at all. I mean, we can look at Apple. Apple, it does look kind of better here, but still, it just doesn't look safe. Nothing looks. That's the what I'm trying to say here. Nothing really looks safe right now. Nothing looks convincing. It looks like the market isn't even sure. Okay, that's what it looks like right now. It looks like the market's not even sure what's going on or what it wants to do. Microsoft. Someone mentioned Microsoft to me in the Discord. It just doesn't look good. I mean, look where we are. Look where we are on Microsoft, and I love Microsoft. I think Microsoft is highly undervalued. I think Microsoft, even analysts have Microsoft priced in for 600, but right now it just doesn't look like it wants to head there right now. Okay, now keep in mind Microsoft does have earnings Tuesday, so that is something to keep in mind. But I mean, look at this. Look where it is. It broke below this channel. This is a monthly supply and demand zone, by the way. This whole rectangle is a monthly supply and demand zone, and we broke below it. Okay. Once we broke below 432, 435, Microsoft was pretty much cooked from here. So it looks scary. Okay, it does look scary. It looks like it can head back to 400 for earnings. So we'll see. But other than that, guys, that's all I have for this video. Hopefully, you got something out of it. Hopefully, you had a great weekend. Be cautious this week. I really appreciate the support lately. I appreciate the comments. I read them all. I try my best to reply to them all, even if they're negative. Just keep them coming, guys. I really, again, appreciate the support. Discord link is in the description below. If you want access to SMS text messages where you get my signals sent directly to your text messages on your phone, feel free to sign up on our website below. It's pretty simple. It's straightforward. You'll see it as soon as you sign up or as soon as you get into the website. And you can even get a free ebook. You subscribe to the website, you get a free ebook, and you get a newsletter every week. All right. But other than that, that's all I have for this video. Until the next video, traders, have a good one.